This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
I finished these fights.
Give me a hell yeah!
Top Rope Nation.
Learn to love it. It's the best thing going today.
We are back after a massively crazy last 6 days or so in the wrestling world. Top Rope Nation back on the air. I'm Ryan Drosty, editor-in-chief of Top Rope Press, joined by my two sidekicks as usual, one of whom actually was in Orlando for all the festivities, as we're going to get into here in just a minute. So before I introduce him, let me introduce the newest member of the Top Rope Nation crew. I say that every week. He's been with us for a couple months though now. Justin joined. Justin, what's going on tonight?
Not much, man. Ready to talk about WrestleMania, one of the greatest WrestleManias ever.
I think we're all kind of in agreement on that one. I think we were all blown away during the show.
Wow.
So
I'm going to have to search some hot take to spike the ratings here. There's got to be something like that. But
I already know where you rank it, Kyle. We talked about this. You got it. You got a specific ranking for the show already.
Yeah, I'm weird like that. So one of these days, I promise you, maybe over the summer, get on me to do this. I'll actually do a WrestleMania thing, and then we can release it in March, because I think that's the only time I'll have time to write it the way I do. But yeah, I would say this was a fringe top 10 Mania. There are certainly a few that it was definitely not better than. But then I started thinking, I was like, this was better than that one. This was better than that one. It was a really good show. It did not have the one standout match, but all the stories were told. The stories that were told for the most part were good, and nothing really sucked.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of WrestleManias where they have a really good main event, maybe one other good match, and a whole lot of crap or filler. Mm-hmm. But this one had several good parts, which I think makes it top 10 almost certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy you hear talking there, by the way, that's Kyle Ross of TopRopePress.com. You know him for the weekly SmackDown write-ups. He was the one who went to Orlando for everything, and I was communicating with Kyle all weekend. He sounded like he had a blast down there. Kyle, did you go down Thursday morning, right?
Yes, very early Thursday we had a flight. It was the morning after the last show we did.
Any issues on the flight down there?
No, flight home sucked. It was late. But, yeah, flight down there was good.
Did you have a direct shot?
We actually got there a little quicker than normal. We got settled, got myself a cocktail on the plane, and I was ready to go, man. We were ready. Next thing I knew, I was at Evolve by the night, and we were ready. We were getting the weekend going.
So Thursday night's Evolve show, what did you think of that one?
It was good. I think my overall take on the indie scene of the weekend is that we may have learned that less is more. There were so many shows, and everyone should. If you're a promotion, you obviously want to run a show, but there were so many guys that worked so many times throughout the course of the weekend. Like Matt Riddle, I think worked 6 times in 3 days.
God,
that's crazy. I watched him 4 times myself, and it's cool. But when you're basically watching these shows and it's the same guys, just scrambled matchups. I don't know. There was nothing. We talked about Mania. How there was no super match this year. NXT, there was nothing close to Nakamura Zayn from last year. And same with the indies. There was a lot of good. But there was no standout. There was no Ricochet Will Ospreay from last year. Or I think, what else? Chris Hero and Matt Riddle last year tore the house down. There was a lot of really good, but there was not that one match that I think at the end of the year people are going to be saying, oh, this was the match of the year. There was nothing like that. And Evolve 80 was kind of a microcosm of that. There was a lot of good stuff. It got off to a good start with Matt Riddle and Drew Galloway doing a hell of a brawl. I think you posted where I was sitting at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you guys are following us, the official Twitter account for the show at TR Nation Podcast, you can follow us as the graphic says right there. You can see, I did post a screenshot. I was watching the show and I was like, man, that looks like Kyle right there. So I took a picture with my phone really quick and text to him. Yep, that was him. You were like 2-3 rows back, like
we were
straight
row
on from
two.
the entranceway.
My buddy, who, and in all due respect to WWN Live and all the shows they had, that they were good. We probably won't be doing this next year if we goes. My buddy got the package, the ringside pack, like right when before the cards were announced. So we were in those seats for every show we went to for the Evolve and for Progress. So it was cool. And, in that Riddle Galloway match, the big pile driver spot was right in front of us, and it was pretty nasty. And that was good. Keith Lee and Ricochet had a very fun, well-worked big man versus little man match. The psychology was great. I think Keith Lee, I'm not the only one who thought he was a real breakout star of the weekend. But some of the stuff on top in Evolve 80 was, it was good, not great. The promotion's reputation for the second best match of the weekend being better than the second card of the weekend, pardon me, being better than the first played out, because I think Evolve 81 overall was a better show. Again, Keith Lee shined. And then the main event, which was sort of the sleeper, I thought, of the weekend, it was kind of an unannounced street fight with Darby Allin and Ethan Page, which was kind of a callback to the wild ECW brawls that we used to get regularly from that promotion. Quite frankly, it was better than most ECW brawls. That tore the house down too. So Evolve was good. It was not great.
I have not watched 81 yet. I watched most of 80. I did the whole subscribing to Flow Slam just because there's so many shows I wanted to see, and there
were some issues, weren't there?
The issues were with WWN for the Progress show. That one wasn't on Flow Slam. So that one you had to buy for like $20. Which
was great for Progress that show was running late, because we were running late getting to the venue. And we weren't the only ones, apparently. We were running late because we were hungover, but the traffic was not good either. And so we got there like 20 minutes late, and I think the only thing we had missed was Zack Sabre Jr. against Jimmy Havoc.
Well, I know Justin had he wanted to watch some of these shows, but he was out of town most of the weekend. Okay. But I got to watch several of these yet. So, Justin, we might have to share some adult beverages and watch Evolve 81 one of these nights.
Count me in.
Yeah.
But you went to, I was going to say, Justin, you were at a pretty sweet place in Minneapolis over the weekend playing the Randy Savage DVD in some like arcade bar or something you sent me a picture of.
Yeah, it was an arcade bar. And at one point in the evening, they had the Final Four on a TV, Cliffhanger, Point Break, and that Macho Man DVD playing. It was magic.
Oh my God, not Cliffhanger.
Oh, WrestleMania weekend. You never know what you're going to get wherever you are. Yeah, they got to have Mania in Minneapolis one of these years, but
I don't think it's going to be happening in the next couple. From what I hear, I heard the some of the towns being bandied about beyond New Orleans, and they weren't Minnesota.
It's crazy because they got such a nice new stadium there, but
yeah, they like they've got their favorite cities, and I think they're just going to rotate those.
That's too bad, because some of the people I was watching WrestleMania with actually commented on that when the promo ran for New Orleans. They're like, weren't they just in New Orleans? Yeah. I don't want to see them run 3 or 4 cities constantly. I want to see them get around the country a little bit. But
yeah, well, I don't know. I think it's going to be. It's going to be like the Super Bowl, where the Super Bowl, it does rotate around. But if you look through the history of the Super Bowl, it's pretty much like 6 cities. The Super Bowl. They always do New Orleans, Miami, San Diego, Dallas. I don't know. They've gone to the Midwest a couple times.
Yeah, they're getting. That's going to be a Minneapolis thing next year. So, I did want to mention last week we had a pretty good show. I thought it was our first show with kind of the souped up graphics package that you saw at the beginning of this show. And so if you're watching us right now, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and you'll never miss one of our shows. Also, you can check us out on iTunes. The audio-only version of the podcast is posted there every week, usually Thursday or Friday. If you go to iTunes, if you leave us a review, leave us a rating, the more reviews that we get, the more ratings we get, the more visibility we get in the iTunes search results. So that'll help us out. And lastly, right now we are streaming live on YouTube. This is Wednesday night. If you're watching the show on YouTube later, you're seeing it on delay. If you want to watch the show live every week, be among these select few, you can head on over to patreon.com/topropenation, and you can make a donation, whatever you want to donate per month. You get access to exclusive shows like the live cast, some special Patreon shows that we've got worked up down the line, maybe even some exclusive interviews. So you give $1 a month, you get access. Pretty cheap. You want to give $5 a month, $20 a month. I think with the $20 tier, we give away a free Top Rope Nation t-shirt to you. We'll send that to you in the mail. So whatever works for you, we'd love to have your support. So back to Orlando, Kyle. So you did go to the Progress show. How was that one? Because that one I did not purchase. I heard good things.
One thing that was crazy is how much more well-attended Progress was compared to the two Evolve shows. It was filled up. I mean, it was packed. The two Evolve shows were nicely attended. I'd say 80. Maybe I'm wrong here. But 80 seemed better attended than 81. I can't remember what 81 was running up against Thursday afternoon. Oh, I think it was running up against the Rev Pro show.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more going on by Friday. But the Progress show, it was packed, and there was a heavy contingent from the other side of the Atlantic in the building there. Met a lot of people who I follow on Twitter there. It was kind of cool, like people just introducing themselves by their Twitter handle and stuff. But, the Progress show was funny just because we were late getting to the building. I was hurting a little bit. My buddy was really hurting. And, what really got the crowd back into it, though, was there was a tag match, like middle of the show. And it was the South Pacific Power Trip taking on Sami Callihan and who else was it? I can't remember. Oh, Shane Strickland. And it was just a kick-ass match. I look over at my buddy, and you would have thought it was like freaking, Iron Mike Sharp against Pedro Morales, like in one of those house shows from Primetime Wrestling, and he was just like no expression on his face. But I think he was the only one who didn't enjoy it. That was really good. The WWE UK Championship match was a little disappointing, I thought, as was Pete Dunne, Mark Haskins. They were both good, but again, neither were blow away. But I'm just probably being nitpicky there. I thought the Progress show was probably... I don't know if I liked it better than Evolve 81 or not. Honestly, I think I did. I'd say the Progress show is better than either Evolve show.
So you went to 6 shows. You went to Evolve 80, Evolve 81, the Progress show, the Super show then, I'm guessing?
Yes. The Super show Saturday night, which was very good. That was not, because that was going against NXT and Ring of Honor, that the attendance there was way down.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I think when that show was set, it was set with the mentality that NXT was on Friday night. Going to be Friday night because they flip-flopped those this year, that in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
So that show was, and then I went to Mania, obviously, in Raw.
Justin, did you see TakeOver or the Hall of Fame at all yet, or just Mania?
I watched the tag team match for the NXT show just because I heard so much about it, and I haven't had time to watch any. Oh, no, and the Aleister Black match because I just wanted to see him. And just some highlights of the Hall of Fame. So I got a lot to catch up on this weekend.
Kyle, did you see the Hall of Fame?
Yes, I did watch the Hall of Fame. I went back and watched it, yeah.
Did you watch it down in Orlando, like where you were staying?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I watched it in like 2 parts. I think we got home. I think part of it I watched live, and then the other half I watched the next morning, if I remember correctly.
Okay. That was a pretty good Hall of Fame show.
I thought it was one of the better Hall of Fame speeches or Hall of Fame ceremonies, to be honest.
I do have one gripe with the Hall of Fame, though, that I've been saying for a few years. They got to put that thing back in theaters. I hate having it in the arena with everyone's just dressed up like they're at a typical wrestling show. I liked it when it was at the theater and you were supposed to dress up a little bit. And it was really hard to get tickets. I went in Chicago in 2006 and it was ridiculously hard to get tickets. We wound up with tickets in the upper level, but it seemed like this exclusive thing to go to. The ticket said right on it, you had to dress up, formal attire, and it made it kind of special. I hate when they show, maybe I'm just weird, but I hate it when they show the wrestlers and they're all dressed up and they like pan the crowd and it looks like a bunch of people that just walked in off the streets. I don't like that.
I have a lot of issues with the fans that I'll be talking about through the course of this program. Yeah, me and my whole group that was down there, when we were watching the Hall of Fame, we had the same thing. We're like, you know what this Hall of Fame ceremony could do without the fans.
Yeah, seriously, the chants and the stupid
like one
stuff.
more match, and like guys like got 1 foot in the grave. Yeah, one more match.
Yeah, they need to make that exclusive again. They need to hit up the theaters, I think.
But yeah, they want to make money, so
yeah.
It's
But at the end of the day, they get charged more because supply and demand. They got less tickets to go around. People will pay it to go.
And if the current WWE business model has proven anything, it's that you can get a select few to pay more, and that works.
Oh yeah.
The cost of Mania tickets this year, the real good ones were I think the highest ever, maybe, or something. I don't know, like
several thousand, right?
Yeah. So that's their business model now. They've got the hardcore fan base who's willing to pay whatever to go to these things, and that's kind of the business model.
I want to get into WrestleMania because I know anyone watching, they want to hear the thoughts on WrestleMania, Kyle's experience at the show. But one more thing about the indie shows he went to. So you saw Matt Riddle and you saw Ricochet. Those two are kind of like two of the biggest names on the indie scene right now. How would you compare the two as far as whose style do you prefer more? Who do you think was more polished? Obviously, Riddle hasn't been wrestling as long as Ricochet, but
I would say, it depends they're not the same guy. It's tough. If you're talking about who do I think would find more success in the WWE, the answer is Matt Riddle. But Ricochet is certainly still one of the great high flyers. And I go back to the psychology of the Keith Lee match, where it was a very kind of old school big man versus little man match. Where Ricochet was doing his high flying offense and Lee was just shrugging it off at first, but as the match went on, it started working. He won with the 630. I don't know how to answer that, really. They're both very good.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Ricochet. I know we texted about this. I think Ricochet is the number one talent on the indie scene, but I've heard a lot about Matt Riddle. I've only seen him work a few times.
He is ungodly over Matt Riddle. It was one thing I wanted to mention here. This was the sequencing of the matches, because so many of these guys were working so many shows. A lot of times, like the first match of the show would have like a big name in it. Like it caught me and my buddy Chad way off guard when at Evolve 80, like Riddle and Galloway, they started the show, which made sense because Riddle was working later in the night against Dan Severn at the Joey Janela show, which sadly I did not go to. I was very upset when I woke up, and I think I read Abby's recap. It was Abby that did it, right?
Yeah.
I read a recap. I was like, oh, I should have been there. I should have stayed.
Miss Glacier.
What's that?
Miss Glacier.
Yeah, I know. Go freaking Glacier. That's correct. I'm definitely going to go to that show next because I know he's doing another one in New Orleans. I'm just going to go to that because it's cool. It's just different. Like I said, some of these other shows, you just kind of felt like you were watching almost the same promotion. So at least it was different. But, Riddle and Galloway let off that Evolve 81, and it was like, wow, this is kind of what I was looking forward to the most in its first.
Yeah,
But
I thought that Ricochet Lee match that you were talking about was really, really good. If you guys haven't seen that, seek that one out. Evolve 80.
And Keith Lee and Donovan Dijak was great from Evolve 81 as well.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, because Lee worked less than some of the other guys, I think it gave him an easier opportunity to shine in those two matches. Going back to my earlier point.
So the tag match at TakeOver was the one everyone was talking about. I thought outstanding match. Justin, let's bring you into the conversation here. What did you think of that tag match? You noted that was one of the parts of TakeOver that you saw.
Yeah, the Revival and DIY are just on another level, and the story they told in that match was incredible with those two teaming up against the Authors of Pain, and the table spot was great. The crowd was super into it. The superplex to the outside. No complaints. I didn't even bother me that Authors of Pain won. I thought that was appropriate.
I didn't mind it because then I'm thinking both the other teams are coming up to the main roster, and we saw on Monday night.
I would keep DIY down there just for guys because I think they've got to do the split, and they need to do the split down in NXT where it'll mean something. And Johnny Gargano, I believe, because right now with Nakamura gone, they don't have a top face they can build around, a top singles baby face to build around in NXT. Yeah. Johnny Gargano can be that guy as a single, I believe.
I would agree. heavily. I agree. He seemed primed for that spot once they did the breakup. I've been waiting for that breakup for a long time. I didn't think they would be together as long as they have been.
Yeah, I know. I would have thought that, every kind of takeover, you're thinking, okay, this will be when they do it, but they've kind of put it on the back burner at least. I mean, they were certainly teasing it like last summer.
Oh yeah, during the cruiserweight tournament.
Yeah, and I was, before we went on the live here, take you behind the curtain. We're recording Wednesday. I was looking at the NXT taping results, and there's been nothing of the sort. I actually don't even think DIY was. I think they've worked one match so far. So.
Yeah, I got a confession to make. The main event with Rude and Nakamura, I started watching it late Saturday night, and it was like I had to start the show on delay, and I watched everything, was really into the tag match, like I said. I got up to the main event, saw Rude's entrance, which was awesome, Nakamura's entrance. The first couple minutes of the match, and I totally fell asleep in my recliner, and I watched the main event yet. So... I know. So, Justin, you haven't seen the main event yet either, I don't think.
No, I wasn't really a big fan of their last match, though.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I really liked the last match. I thought that was way better than any match that Nakamura had with Joe, the last one.
What did you think of their match this week?
It wasn't as good as the second one, but it was okay. I think overall this takeover, it just seems mean to say it was one of the weaker ones because it wasn't a bad show. But I think this one was, as a whole, maybe one of the less interesting ones. And what hurt the main event, and this is a dynamic that I think they need to address internally, is people knew Nakamura was going to probably leave after this match. And B, and this is the key with him being a babyface challenging for a title, they want him to leave. So the fans don't want Nakamura to win the title because that means he wouldn't be going to the main roster. And that creates kind of a bizarre dynamic in the booking. So that's something that I think they need to be cognizant of moving forward when they book these guys who people want to see on the main roster. And it's pretty clearly their last match. They kind of had that with Balor, too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, we saw Balor on Monday night. We'll get to that maybe a little bit later. So let's just go right into WrestleMania now.
Okay.
So overall, I thought, like we said at the beginning, top 10 WrestleMania. I thought it was just a great show. I was tweeting on our Twitter account a little bit, on my Twitter account throughout the show. If you follow our Twitter page, most of the time live tweeting is Justin. He is our supreme tweeter over here at TR Nation Podcast. Had some good ones going out. But I don't know. I was disagreeing with some of the people that I was either watching it with or texting back and forth during the show, but I'm like, this is a really great WrestleMania, and I don't see how anyone could have any major issues with the show.
No. There was nothing that's like, oh, this is just terrible, and I'm just going to stop my feet, and this was so wrong, and the company has really hurt itself with this decision. I mean, even some of the stuff that I thought that I didn't personally like on the show, it's not disastrous by any means.
The only problem I had with it live, which I wasn't very happy about at first, was I didn't think at first, let me preface that by saying at first, I didn't think that Taker Reigns should have gone on last at first. But then when I saw how it ended with Taker's retirement, walking off, and the big ovation for him, then it was like, well, of course it had to go on last. There's no way they could have put that on any other spot.
Was it like Wade Keller, who has seemingly lost his mind this weekend with some of his takes?
I didn't see anything that he wrote.
That was suggesting that Reigns Taker should not have gone on last?
There's no way you could have put that anywhere else on the show the way it ended. Now, if it would have ended with just Reigns victorious, then no way should have that main evented. But with what they had planned with Taker, it was kind of his moment. It really wasn't about Reigns winning in the end. It was about Taker's retirement and exiting the rings. That should have been the main event.
Reigns winning is going to matter in the long term, but right. Had they not done what they had done with Taker, it would have been one of the worst main events probably ever.
Yeah.
But because of that, I think the sloppiness of the match will be forgotten largely.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the main event, Justin?
I loved it, and the sloppiness of it didn't really bother me that much, just because of Undertaker was obviously in a lot of pain in the match, and so that kind of added to it. And just like the the reverse tombstone that they couldn't quite get up. A lot of people were shitting on Reigns, but I'd put that on the Undertaker. He was kind of jumping at awkward moments and whatnot.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, Reigns would have to awkwardly deadlift him to have done that. Yeah.
I'll get to my thoughts on people who had a problem with Roman Reigns later on.
Well, we're getting to it.
There's a lot of good stuff. There's some like real heel stuff with Reigns, like when he rolled out and then rolled back in and did the Superman punch. That was great. When Taker was kind of almost blindly reaching for the chair, next thing you see is Reigns' foot on it, and then like the moment I was hoping for was for Reigns to kind of go, Austin on Rock at X7. It didn't quite get to that level, but it came awfully close. And I love the whole thing. I thought Reigns carried the guilt and the glory of beating the Undertaker really well. I'm all on board the Roman Reigns Express, especially after Monday night, which we'll get to.
The
Kyle,
guilt and the glory. I like that a lot. That was good word choice there. The guilt and the glory.
No cue cards even.
Yeah, well, yes.
To throw back if you've been watching our shows. Kyle, I have been dying to hear what the fans in Orlando were saying during this match. And you kind of gave me a preview via text message, I think late that night or early the next morning, about what you had heard some people saying. All right, let's start the rant right now.
Okay. There was this guy sitting right in front of me. And first of all, I need to mention something. People talk about the WWE and some of its faults and whatever. Some of them are valid, others aren't. I got to say, the company, I really want to just get this out of the way before I talk about the show. They did us a real solid. So we got to our seats pretty early. We were there, like 4 o'clock, so a full hour before the pre-show started. And we get to our seats, which were good. We knew they were good. They were they were in the riser section. And sit in them, look out to the ring, total obstruction by the pole. And I'm like, fuck. And like, so my buddies were like, oh, come on, man. They were grumbling a little bit. I was like, oh boy. So it did I was like, all right, can I make do with this? Is this okay? And I was thinking back, God bless his soul, because this will probably be the only time I've ever sought this person for sage advice, but Brian Alvarez, I remembered some of the, I think it was Mania 29, he had talked about so many people having issues with obstruction and that they had found people in the arena and asked to move, and many of them had gotten moved. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to complain. So found a guy on the floor, worked for WWE, and real nice guy, didn't get his name or anything like that. But I was like, hey, man, I got 6 buddies. We're from Ohio. We're trying to watch a show. We got a big freaking pole right in our way, man. He's like, all right, let me see what I can do. Come back to me in 10 minutes. Came back to him in 10 minutes. He gave us great seats. I sent you the picture of where we sat. They moved us. Big props to the WWE, man, for doing that. I will say this, though. Our entire new row where we wound up sitting were people from our old row. So, like, really? They followed our lead, and once they saw me pull off the trick, I think they did it, too. So, yeah, there was a lot of we had a real refugee section, if you will, over in 121.
I have the picture loaded on my phone that you sent me, and, yeah, he's looked to be, you guys can see that, pretty good seats.
Wow.
Pretty good view.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were right across from the entrance, so it was great. But the one thing that was not so great about Section 121 was this frickin' knob in front of me.
Here we go.
Who looked like someone shitting his cereal when Reigns pinned The Undertaker. Like, he was pouting. Like, and this was not like a child. He probably wasn't as old as me, but he was late 20s, early 30s for sure. This dude was pouting. When he's like, how can they let him win? The guy only does 4 moves. Are you kidding me? And I was just looking at this guy. I was like, dude, what a fucking mark you are. Who didn't think Roman Reigns was winning this match?
You should have said, do you know who I am?
Like,
my name's Kyle Ross.
I was just like, what kind of fucking idiot thought The Undertaker was going to win this match?
Yeah.
Nerds!
Yeah, I mean, this guy, and I'm not even getting into the guy. By the way, you guys, I respect. But some of these other people who were like against Goldberg over the weekend, there was one during the match, hideous. I'm not even going to dignify what some tool down the row was calling Goldberg. It rhymed with bag, if you get my drift. I mean, that's just classless. And then there was this tool at Raw who was wearing a Star Wars shirt. He had a beard, red Star Wars. So if you're listening to the show and you were wearing a red Star Wars shirt, and he had a pretty, and admittedly you have a pretty nice beard, and you were in section 115, you are the freaking worst. Because he was like totally shouting at Goldberg during that nice promo we cut after the show went off the air. And I just kind of like yelled over, Star Wars sucks. And he gave me a really nasty look.
Guy in the red shirt. You just made Kyle's list.
Yeah, you made the list. There are just like, there are people who think they're smart wrestling fans that are really dumb, in my opinion. That was one of my major takeaways from this weekend. There are a lot of wrestling fans that are really smart. Like when I was in line for Evolve 81, I got to chat with a guy, knew his stuff, knew what he's talking about. I wound up sitting with him at the show too. But there are a lot of smart wrestling fans. But God, there are some people who think they're smart, don't know a damn thing.
The majority of smarks nowadays are the ones who are getting worked more than
Yes.
marks.
Yes. I mean, like, it's just like, the anti-Reigns, anti-Cena crowd. I mean, they're the biggest marks in the bunch. It's like what Brian Pillman said. A mark is each and every one of you sorry sons of bitches. What's a smart mark? A mark with a high IQ?
I know that Justin has jumped aboard the Roman Reigns train recently. I am not fully aboard, but I will say I like him more than I used to. I don't know that he warrants the main event spot that he's in, but I don't think he's a bad wrestler like people like to make out. I think he has a certain aura about him that, like as you saw on Raw on Monday night, is starting to hit that main event level. But I want to say I see a lot of stuff on Twitter that almost makes me want to like really cheer him hard, because like what you're saying is some of the stupidest comments you've ever read. Like you're just like, yeah, like Justin said, you're buying into what they want you to believe. So you think you're smart, but you're actually getting worked.
Really dumb. Yeah. Like there were people, I saw a tweet, somebody legitimately tweeted this. I think it was at Wade Keller. Somebody tweeted this during the show. If it was up to me, I would have put that mixed tag on the pre-show. And it's like, do you know anything about professional wrestling? Fan. Like,
John Cena on the pre-show at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Like, yeah. And of course he would have put Aries and Neville in that spot too. Like, come on, dude.
A lot of people thinking with their feelings, that's for sure.
Yeah. Come on, dude.
The Aries and Neville match should have got more time though. I think.
I think
Dude, it got like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like right around 10 minutes live, but it might have been 15. But it seemed to go really quick. Like they got this 2-hour pre-show, and I don't know. To me, it seemed pretty quick.
It's funny because everyone's like, "Oh, maybe this should have got more time." Maybe that. Man, I mean, at the same time, everyone's like, "The show went 7 hours." I mean, what can you do? We were talking about it on the way home because that seemed to be, if there was a criticism of this show, it's too long. And last year's show, it definitely felt long when I was sitting on my couch, 32. But I think it's just kind of like a 3-hour Raw now. It's just something you got to come to grips with. WrestleMania is a 7-hour experience now, man.
It's crazy.
It is. But we were all talking. We're like, okay, if you just say it out loud, 7-hour wrestling show, that seems pretty preposterous and excessive, right? Like I came home, I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, WrestleMania lasted 7 hours. Her like eyes freaking fell out of her head. She's like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, we were talking the guys when we were down there. What would we have done to shorten the show? And honestly, it was basically like unless if you want to go back to like the WrestleMania 3 carts, so they get to the ring quicker. I don't know what you can do because it was basically like the intros did take forever sometimes, but that's part of the show. They love these cool, larger-than-life entrances.
Well, and you can't do the carts because that would take away from Randy Orton's giant sperm that he walked down with.
Yes. A lot of people talked about that. Yes.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah, what did you think
of that match?
So the entrance got a lot of hype before the show. I thought probably the coolest WrestleMania set of all time. What did you think of it live?
It was cool, yeah, when I walked in there, because so we were to the side of it where we were originally sitting, And I looked, I'm like, this thing is freaking huge. I guess it was like 80 yards long.
Mhm.
Somebody said on Talking Smack
Like
last
86
night.
yards or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it looked cool though. The only criticism I had of it is whoever the light guy was sometimes got a little wild, and we were sitting directly on the other side, and like there were times I was blinded. It was like 8 p.m. and I was putting blue blockers on so I could like see what was going on.
I actually did see a lot of complaints on Twitter. A bunch of people couldn't even see the ring because of the lights.
Yeah. They figured it out. For me, it was never like a long-term thing, but there were just a couple occasions where I'm like, Jesus, somebody turn the freaking lights down, man.
So, anything else on Reigns Taker before we move on? Anything else you heard in the crowd that blew your mind?
From a
What was the atmosphere like as you were exiting the arena? I guess because it probably took you a long time to get out of there.
Yeah, there did seem to be some fatigue, I think, from the crowd. Like people were not like going wild, or I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the way the show ended, I don't think you were supposed to leave like going crazy.
Yeah.
But there was nothing new. I mean, I think the feeling in the arena during that match is what you would expect. The majority of people were booing Reigns. I'd like to think most of them knew he was winning. The match itself was not good. That's on Taker. I don't care what anyone says. Taker was really, really bad in that match. Now, it makes sense for him to come out. I mean, the idea, well, he shouldn't have even worked. That's ridiculous. I mean, Taker should have laid down to do a big job, as he did there. But he sucked. Like, he should not wrestle again.
He's just he needs that hip surgery so bad. It was obvious.
I just felt bad for him. I mean, I'm not like dogging the guy. I mean, he just it's gone, man. Like the body at this point is just saying no way. I did really love the spot. I always had thought in my mind when Undertaker finally does kind of bow out, a great spot would be for him to try to sit up and not do it anymore.
Yes.
So that was a really good spot that they did, and I like that they did it.
I've seen him do that before in a big match, and I can't remember what match it was, but I agree. It's well done. I definitely seen him do it before. I can't remember. Maybe you guys can leave a comments here if you're watching. But yeah, that was a nice touch. I like that. Justin, you have something?
Oh, no, I was just going to agree with that. I thought that was terrific.
So did you guys see they're actually one of the wrestling betting sites is actually already taking odds that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble next year and actually win it? I think it was 20 to 1 odds that Taker would win the Royal Rumble next year.
I had a buddy who I was like, oh, I wonder if on Raw they're going to give Taker the Flair treatment from the last time they were in Orlando. He's like, no, I bet you Taker's going to work WrestleMania. I was like, no way he's going to work WrestleMania next year. He's like, never say, every year everyone thinks it's his last one and it isn't. So I would be shocked though if he worked next year. But they had some like ridiculous names, like for the Andre Battle Royal. I remember a couple weeks ago on those betting odds sites, like they still had Shaquille O'Neal listed.
Yeah, even
though like he had said I'm not doing it.
So the Andre Battle Royal, let's hit that real quick with
we don't
Mojo
talk about Aries and Neville at all.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that one too. But just since you mentioned the Andre Battle Royal,
okay.
What did you guys think of Mojo winning? Because I thought that I know they wanted to get the mainstream pub with Gronk and everything, but is that really worth it when like long term wise? I don't know. It seemed like Braun Strowman went out pretty dang early.
The only thought I had was I really want Cesaro to become best friends with Tom Brady.
Yeah. So I was joking, especially when they had shown Gronk on screen. So, at this point I was feeling pretty good. I was like maybe close to peak buzz when that match was going on. And I had a buddy and we were like, we had decided we were totally turning on some of these idiot fans that we didn't like during this show. And we kept yelling during this match, actually, Mojo's a dark horse. It's like was our big thing. We kept yelling. And when Braun and Show went out relatively early, it seemed to kind of kill the crowd. Actually, people were just shocked, I think, and because they had built it. It's not one of those things like, oh, I think this guy should win, and I'd heard rumors that he would. It's like they built that confrontation up on TV pretty strong, and it really didn't happen. They did the face off, And then they did that like Hulk Andre spot from that Saturday Night's Main Event Battle Royal. Remember where like they're ready to face off, but then like all the guys jump on them, and that was it. And I was like, ooh, that was kind of a weak payoff. But you know, I wrote my SmackDown review last night. Look, yes, Mojo won that match because he's best friends with the greatest tight end in NFL history. But if he gets pushed up properly out of it, then that's fine. I mean, you always got to find new baby faces, and you know, God bless it. If Mojo gets pushed, then it's the right move.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. I mostly felt bad for Big Show if this really is his last WrestleMania.
Yeah,
that's how he goes out.
Especially because he was supposed to work Shaq, and he got in such great shape. Yeah. So like for him to get dumped, you know, like that pretty quickly, that does kind of suck from his perspective. But you know, other than that, it was a typical battle royal where 90 to 95% of the participants don't even matter.
Yep.
Usos, you know, your SmackDown Tag Team Champions, they were just treated like nothing.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent in a battle royal you can be kind of protected because it's not like you got pinned, you got thrown over the top rope, but it doesn't make you look too bad in the long run. But I really thought Big Show was going to win with this.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought Strowman was going to win for sure, especially because it looks like they're setting him up to challenge Lesnar down the line.
Yeah, I think in our On Top Rope Press, in our preview article that Abby and I did, I picked Show just because word was starting to get out. This could be like his farewell too, and I thought, well, they might do it for him, let him win this. Kind of like you were saying, he put in so much work for WrestleMania this year and couldn't get the deal done with Shaq, so it could be kind of a way to make amends. But
to me, you know, again, we have to let it play out, see who gets what they have in mind for the two of them. But you know, Mojo honestly would have been my, like, if I were doing the odds, would have been my third choice because they kind of made a big deal about him announcing it. And you know, as soon as they showed Gronk was there, I was like, oh, Mojo may win this. And it was, you know, to be honest with you, it was a cool thing to get Gronkowski involved. It was enjoyable. I mean, it's not like I'm weeping for the career of Jinder Mahal, who, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, this guy, what an off-season workout program he had.
Yeah, he's looking kind of freaky, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, wow.
So, yeah, Neville and Aries, I thought solid match. First match, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the first match.
I liked how, and I don't know, Justin, if you caught this too, I really liked how, you know, the agents have been going crazy a lot with these like eye rakes leading to the finish, it seems, especially on the SmackDown side. But this one really made sense because Aries had the eye injury and that played into the finish, you know, because at first I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weak. And then my buddy's like, oh, you know, Aries, that eye, you know, it gave out. I was like, oh, okay, that made sense.
Yeah, and Neville having to break out the red arrow for the win. Like he only does that when he absolutely needs it, like he did with Jack Gallagher.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was solid. I mean, I was not one of those people expecting this to be like, you know, like a top 10 Mania match ever or something like that.
No,
so to me, this match is exactly what I thought it was going to be.
I think it's just kind of odd how you have two guys that weren't involved in the cruiserweight tournament last summer, and they seem to be the guys taking this up a notch. I think I'm more interested in the cruiserweight division than I have been in months right now, and it's through those guys a lot.
They need more top tier guys. I mean, you know, the guys that they did get from that cruiserweight classic weren't necessarily the stars. I mean, the whole thing in retrospect is they wanted Kota Ibushi, they wanted Zack Sabre Jr., and neither of those guys signed. I mean, those were like the two favorites coming in. And they wound up having to put TJ Perkins over. And, you know, Perkins looked great in that tournament, but he's not a big star.
So how about if we need another cruiserweight, how about the first person eliminated from the Andre Battle Royal, Kalisto?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't have him doing those matches. Because Kalisto's a damn good worker. And, you know, him just like jobbing to like Dolph Ziggler is just such a waste of him.
Yeah. Well, one other thought I had on the pre-show was how the mighty have fallen in regards to Dean Ambrose and the Intercontinental title on the pre-show. Some of that is just due to the fact that the card was just so packed this year. I mean, we talked about it leading into the show, how where are you going to put these matches? We're 12 matches deep and we had some title matches left. But, man, his stock has really fallen with the company, I think.
Well, you know, the thing is, people got all upset when this, for whatever reason, that the SmackDown women's match was going to be on the pre-show. And, it was a late change, right? Like, I was in Orlando, I think, when I had read that it wasn't going to be anymore. I'm positive I was. It might have been like Thursday night or something. I remember looking on my phone, though, and seeing that. I was like, oh, okay, so just going to do two pre-show matches. But then that Andre Battle Royal ended kind of early. I'm like, are they going to squeeze something else in here? Because they didn't announce the IC for the pre-show. And my buddy's like, I wonder if it's going to be Corbin Ambrose because, compared to some of the other stuff, the build wasn't that big. I mean, they did the one big angle with the forklift, and Corbin called him out a couple times, but that was it. And for that match, I actually went and met someone in a different, many years ago. I did a different podcast, and I had a listener over in the UK who I'd stayed friends with on Facebook, and he happened to be in the arena, and we connected, and I went over and talked to him actually during that match, which was pretty cool. Liam is listening.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, and this match suffered a lot because once it was put on the pre-show, you knew they weren't changing the title. So it was just there. And, I mean, certainly, I think we're all going to be in agreement the SmackDown match blew it away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only thing I really liked in the WrestleMania match was Corbin booting Ambrose in the face during his first rebound clothesline attempt.
Yeah, I think it's just a sign that they have too many titles. Did you guys see that column on, I think, SB Nation, where there's a female writer on there, and she never watched wrestling before, and she wrote a live blog as she watched WrestleMania?
I did not see that.
Did you see that? It was getting a lot of retweets on Twitter, I think earlier today or yesterday. Really good. Check it out. It's pretty entertaining. But
I'll have to check it out because some SB Nation stuff is.
Yeah, this is good though. She got some shout outs from people in the industry. I saw.
Oh, okay. Wow. I'll have to check
on
it
her
out.
Twitter page. But it's pretty funny. And one of the things she mentions all the time is I guess this is for another title. I'm confused. If you're getting into WWE and you're watching this with as many belts as they have, and the Universal title and the WWE title and all, it's confusing.
I mean,
it is.
Personally, here's a discussion we had, group, and I don't think we ever resolved anything. We were watching. Should the women all be on one, or should the women all be on one show and the tag teams all be on another show?
Yeah, I think we talked about that last week, and I think that would be,
maybe that was you guys I talked about that with. I don't know. I've talked wrestling last week. I don't know who I'm talking about.
I really like that idea because it gives you so many more options in the women's division, and especially the tag division, which really needs depth. I think there's only so many matches and feuds they can do in the tag division.
Well, they're going to do this shake-up thing, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, you're with the title situation, right? And it hurts. That's where the Mania card becomes so bloated because you have to have two women's title matches. They didn't do two tag title matches, but they could have. And yeah, I'm just. I see why they do. Each brand has a world champion, but there's probably somebody smarter than me that could make an argument, a compelling one, that there should be one traveling world champion, and then the U.S. and the Intercontinental should be the top belts on the brand. It would make titles certainly seem more important.
Yeah, I hate having two world champions. And
it was a bad idea in WCW in '93. I always said that when they did the split world title in the first brand split, I'm like, man, they're going 93 WCW on us. That was one of the most, pardon the pun, universally shit on ideas ever.
Yeah, it didn't work good in the first brand split, so I'm not sure why they decided to do it again. I liked when they had the traveling champion in the first brand split for very briefly when Brock did it, I think. But
that was that lasted for 4 months until Triple H was handed the big gold belt.
Yeah. So yeah, it might have only been a month. I don't know, because Brock won the title at SummerSlam, and I feel in September Triple H already had the title.
Yeah, well, they have the title going around before then. I mean, because remember they kept changing it. Hogan had it, Undertaker had it, The Rock had it for a month.
No, yeah, that was the undisputed title. Yeah,
and then it became disputed,
and then that's when they split it into two. Yeah. So we don't have to hit every match on this card because it's towards the end of the week. Everyone's probably talked WrestleMania to death. But anything else big that stood out to you at the show? I mean, what was the reaction in that Orton Wyatt match to the weird tricks they did with the worms and stuff?
There was laughter, and I'm just freaking Kevin Dunn, man. And to be honest with you, look, I said last week this was the match I was probably looking forward to the least, at least as far as the featured ones go. and I'll stand by it. I mean, I think of this is the match that I enjoyed the least on the show. It just putting aside the goofiness of the gimmick of that stuff, of like there being a pro wrestling match where all of a sudden worms are showing up on the mat. It like, what was really stupid about it is it like had no effect, and it like didn't play any role in the match. Like, it wasn't like Orton was laying there and he like looks over, he's like, oh my god, what's going on? Like, he didn't sell it, and he just hit the RKO and it was over. So it made it like really dumb. Like, that match to me was, I thought one of the weaker spots of the main card.
Randy looked a little disinterested during it too, or maybe he was just pissed off because the crowd didn't really seem to care.
Yeah. And how about Triple H, by the way, throwing some shade in a Sports Illustrated interview at Randy Orton? Did you guys read that?
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't see that.
When he's like, yeah, Randy could probably work a little harder.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Man.
He could. I mean, Randy Orton could be really good, but, it's ironic back when they did that build with him and Daniel Bryan at Mania 30 that on screen, Stephanie and Triple H kept referring to Bryan as this B-plus player, when to me, like, Orton is the ultimate B-plus guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He's very good. Like, that match with AJ on SmackDown a couple weeks ago was really good. I mean, he's had really good matches, but, like, just throw out a name. You compare him to John Cena last 10 years. Number of, like, really good matches. Cena has it's not even close how many more great matches John Cena's had than Randy Orton.
Yeah, I agree. He is the embodiment of a B-plus player. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of funny because we talked about in the build up to Mania how that feud was just too hokey for us to get involved in it, and what they did is made it even hokier.
And this House of Horrors match that they're going to be building to now, I'm a little worried what that's going to entail, because it could be cool or it could be real hokey.
Yeah,
and I didn't even hate the build-up as much as you guys did, but it was just the fact that it should have been used to build up Bray, but instead it was used to neuter him with a out of nowhere RKO.
I feel terrible for Bray. Like, all the word was, Meltzer talked about this, where the word was, when the word was that Wyatt was winning the title, oh, we're really going to give Bray Wyatt this big push. We're really going to finally run with Bray Wyatt. And I mean, what a worthless first title run that was, I thought, for him.
Yeah.
So, hey, guys, we haven't talked about the highlight of the night yet. Chris Jericho's light up scarf.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a good match. I liked it. I liked the scarf. I loved the fingertip on the rope.
Yeah, great callback to the Finger of God poster. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that was good. That was a really good match. It was tough because the opener was really good, and they had to follow it. But no, these guys had them, and the right guy went over. I think it makes sense when I thought about it more, just to get the title onto Owens, because aren't they going to have work again at Payback? I think it'll probably be some gimmick match that writes Jericho out of the storyline, because if they had extended it and Jericho won at Mania, then I think everyone knows Owens is winning anyway, but I think changing the title made sense there in that situation, and it was a good match.
So I didn't think for Brock Goldberg, or just mention this one briefly, I didn't think the crowd seemed that into it watching it on the network. But you said live that they were really into it.
Yeah, that's the one disparity. So it's very interesting. I have not watched the show on the network, but I was obviously there live. And the one dispute was the crowd, at least my section, was red hot for that Lesnar goal. I mean, every single person was standing. I stood the whole match, which wasn't, it wasn't like a freaking Iron Man match, obviously, but, cool. It was great. Every move drew a reaction. I thought it was really, really good. I
told Kyle before the show that I thought it was exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It was so
unique. Like, people are like, oh, they're just doing the, first of all, if you're going to bitch about Goldberg only doing a couple moves, you better do this goddamn same thing, pardon my French there, about Brock Lesnar. Because Brock Lesnar only does a couple moves too.
Yep.
Yeah. The worst thing about that is Brock can do so much more, but it's like, He's so hampered by that German suplex gimmick at this point.
Yes.
That it hurts
But
his matches.
It was so unique in, you talk about sprints. WWE rarely does sprints and it's big, the match is high up the card. This was cool in that, like, there just aren't a lot of, give credit to these two. There aren't a lot of guys who can actually pull that match off, where they just keep hitting big power moves, and it's the same big power move over and over, and the crowd just buys everything as a finish. Like, when Lesnar started German suplexing him, everyone's like, okay, he's just going to keep doing that, and it's going to be over. And then Goldberg popped up and speared him. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, like, this is on now.
My favorite was, I thought Lesnar was going to jump out of that stadium when he hopped over the spear attempt. That was incredible. That dude was just amazing.
It reminded you how athletic that this guy is.
Yeah. Was so Goldberg, his response from the crowd, like 90% boos, probably.
It was certainly more negative. Yes.
Yeah.
People definitely wanted him to lose. Yes.
Yeah.
But I've been very adamant. I think he did a good job on this run.
Triple H Rollins.
Crowd was dead at the beginning. I was telling Justin off air, maybe these Triple H entrances are getting a little too masturbatory.
I agree.
The crowd was super into the entrance. Like, everyone's, time to play the game. Funny thing, we were there with the guy who doesn't really watch. In our group, there was a guy who he doesn't really follow anything. And he said when Triple H came down, he's like, this sounds like Drunken Motorhead doing this theme song. I'm like, well, I think that let me, just threw this one together, believe it or not. He's like,
I loved the Rollins entrance was, dare I say, fire.
Yeah, but it kind of came off as weak after that Triple H one, though.
I think
I liked it better.
Yeah, I liked it better too. I think Triple H is just getting awkward at this point. You got like Stephanie wearing stuff she probably shouldn't wear at this point in her lifetime. She's the whole
Ryan
thing
Rossi's
is
picture is going to be thrown up at the Titan Tower. He's never getting in with that comment.
Well, I mean, seriously, like, it is getting, like you said, it's getting kind of bizarre, these entrances. Like, I don't know how Triple H can keep
it just takes so freaking
face.
long. I mean, people, you want to talk about like the show going 7 hours. The Triple H entrance didn't need to be 1 hour or whatever it was. So the crowd, though. So Justin agreed with me on this, and I want to know about you. The match was worked properly, although it wasn't getting heat early. The match clearly should have been Triple H working the knee. Like, no doubt about it in my mind. So the fact that people are like, oh, well, the crowd was sitting on its hands, you can't say that's on the crowd, but like, to me, they were working the match the right way. And the crowd did pick up at the end. Stephanie's second year in a row at Mania took her bump.
That was awesome when she went through the table. And by the way, I'm not saying that she doesn't look good in what she's wearing.
Oh, here he goes, already backing off.
No, I'm saying that, like, people of her age don't wear outfits like that.
It was kind of
weird. I don't dress like a teenager.
You're not going to the right bars, Ryan.
Yeah.
But it didn't play into her character, like, as like this successful businesswoman. It was like,
it's kind of strange, for lack of a better word. And by the way, Triple H's entrance, Justin had possibly the most successful tweet in the history of our Twitter account mocking Triple H's entrance. If you didn't see it,
I missed it. And I was on Twitter too. What did it say?
I think it had over 200 likes, almost retweets.
It said Triple H coming out to WrestleMania like, and then it was a GIF of Michelle Tanner rolling up in a little 3-wheeler.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
Sunglasses and leather jacket, I think, on or something. Yeah.
But I mean, it picked up by the end, and it was nice to see Rollins win. The only thing that was weird was no Joe.
Yeah.
Everyone just assumed he was going to interfere in this thing, and he did not.
Which, the way the end went down, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
If you guys don't have anything else on this match, I have a question for Kyle about the live crowd for a certain guy.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Watching, it almost seemed like he was the most, damn near cheered guy in the ring that night. The Miz, was he just like over like Rover?
He
was getting a reaction.
Yeah, but it was weird because he was attempting to get that reaction, which is something you don't see from Miz. Miz very clearly was trying to do the cool heel, which he doesn't do very often. It was interesting. I don't know if maybe he was a little irritated that they were losing in 10 minutes or whatever. But yeah, he was getting a good reaction from the crowd. And, it was the same thing on SmackDown. I mean, it just kind of the de facto thing by him being opposite of Cena. People just like to boo John Cena, so they're going to cheer the guy who's working against him. But yeah, he was very over.
Well, I don't really have anything left for WrestleMania unless you guys do.
I got a couple comments or a couple moments I'd at least like to point out. Charlotte's corkscrew moonsault I thought was amazing, just kind of like up in the ante from her moonsault last year. And then we also haven't talked about the Hardys.
Oh yeah, geez, yeah.
Was that the biggest pop of the night?
Yes. So it was really funny. Like the next day, my buddies were all joking. Like at first, while it was going on, and shame on me for even entertaining, like thinking WWE could be this dumb, because like it would have been all timer. When the New Day was like they were building up to it. I'm like, if this isn't the Hardys, this crowd is going to like storm the ring and just like riot. I'm like, if the New Day like says, and it's us, and they start doing it, I'm like, my God, this is going to be the biggest heel reaction of all time. But yeah, when they came out, it was great. And, the next day we were joking, like how it would have been actually really funny if the New Day was just like, it is us. Like,
yeah, they played that perfectly.
Yeah. And I'll say this about the New Day, because I'm not their biggest fan, with the show being as long as it was, I was glad there was no real needless comedy. That opening segment was pretty pointless. I'll say that. But, they had them introduce announce the fake number that they did, which I know somebody better check in Southern California. I believe Dave Meltzer's still having some heart issues over that. He was very upset with that number. And it was wrong. There's no denying that. And they did the thing with the Hardys, which was good. So, but yeah, I'm glad there was no like bad comedy with them.
And before the commentary brought up something that kind of blew my mind. But before I say that, I just want to point out another moment from that ladder match I loved was the dual swing and beats of the Bowery from Sheamus and Cesaro.
That is a
oddly enough, who are oddly enough for hitting their stride like months after they had their championship reign.
Look, I told you, like, Ryan and I kind of like had this disagreement. Like I remember on Sheamus, and I get that Sheamus, he's been around for a long time and he's pretty stale as a singles. But like that beats the Bowery, that is one of always the most over spots in any like there are very few moves that consistently get a good reaction like that one does. That's that simple of a move.
Yeah, I like Sheamus. So okay, something that the commentary team said after the match, that was the first time the tag titles have changed hands since WrestleMania 17.
Oh, that's crazy. I certainly can't remember any of them, but
valued, and I'm not going to dispute them. A lot of times they were in like pre-show limbo for the longest time.
But even then, like I had a hard time believing that. And I had to look it up because I'm thinking, well, shit, maybe they're just haven't been defended on a lot of these WrestleManias,
Yeah.
but they've been defended on almost every one. And you go through the Wikipedia page, and
You did? Okay.
it's amazing. Some of these people that retained is
Wow.
shocking.
That's crazy.
well, I think the next night we certainly got a reset on the
Oh, yeah.
roster, and who's in it?
Ooh. I'm gonna start booing every time you try and talk.
That was a great opening segment to Raw.
Amazing.
so good.
Perfect.
That was the only time of the night I'm going to give that crowd any credit whatsoever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the night it was like, my God, what a horrible crowd to try to make it about themselves constantly in the beach balls and Jesus.
Do you blame EC? Is it about time that we just call a spade and blame ECW for these crowds? Like when the crowds try taking over the show and making it all about them, and they're like no attention to anything. It's like, that like every single minute has to be some attention grabbing spot.
Maybe we should just blame those damn Brits because that's what happens in the UK every time they're over there.
I would put more of the blame on Full Sail.
Oh yeah, them too.
I don't
That's
know.
really
To me, it
bad in
goes
the
back
UK
to
though.
ECW. Like like obviously I didn't know you guys back then, and we haven't. But like, what is your like? I think like it's kind of funny. Like I think people have this nostalgic vision of ECW, and there were times where it was really good, but I mean ECW is overrated to me is not a hot take. It's just a correct take.
I don't know if I'd say overrated, but I didn't see a lot of ECW because we only had access to it on the pay-per-views once they started running pay-per-view. We didn't get the syndicated.
Well, and that's, to be honest to me, that's when most people did. Like their numbers were highest, and by then it was not that good. Like once they put like Shane Douglas on top.
I mean, I was following it like in the wrestling magazines and stuff, but yeah, I was always kind of jealous because I'd read about it and it sounded cool, but I couldn't watch it. I think one of my friends had DirecTV and he could watch it, but our local cable company didn't get the syndicated television. So, Justin, did you watch ECW much in the 90s?
No, I didn't really have access to it.
Okay. Yeah. See, we got access to the TV on a good old Sports Channel Ohio. Which has now been bought by Fox Sports. It's the channel that has the Cavs on. A Cleveland Cavs team, which, by the way, is whipping the Boston Celtics ass right now, Justin. I mean,
I'm watching it.
God, here we go.
I'm watching it.
Bad. I mean, I got a stat for you. If the Cavs play the Celtics in the playoffs, LeBron James will be the best player on the floor in all 7 games. Or however long that goes. I mean, that boy is motivated tonight.
Boston should have done whatever it took to get Jimmy Butler on that team. They're going to regret it in the playoffs.
I mean, LeBron James, are you aware of this man's stats tonight?
No.
Last I looked, he was at 36, 10, and 8. And the Cavs were up 26.
Well, all I know is that he's the big dog and it's his yard.
Yes, it is. All right, yeah, let's get back to that. That was so I did watch that on YouTube. Just to see what the reaction was compared to live. It was nothing like being in the building. That's like, so it's crazy how much you guys liked it, because being in that building, it was among the best segments I've ever been a part of live for a Monday Night Raw. The best one ever will always be Mike Tyson joining DX. Like nothing will ever beat that. I was there live when Michaels ripped his shirt off. But this was like right below that in terms of a TV segment.
Well, after the Taker Undertaker match on Twitter and other sources, I saw a lot of people shitting on it, and especially Roman Reigns, and saying that didn't do Roman Reigns any favor beating Undertaker, and he wasn't the right guy to do it. Him saying this is my yard now, and that crowd's reaction,
oh my God.
That solidifies that was the right move.
Yes, I mean that was one of the best. I mean, it just shows, like, what people don't understand is once you get to a certain level, you do less. It's the old less is more thing, like I talked about with the indies. Like that, this is my yard now. What is it? This is my yard. 5-word that 5-word promo was like as effective as any opening promo segment on Raw in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, that was Roman Reigns' pipe bomb.
Yeah. I mean, it was just incredible. It was, the only thing though is Raw definitely peaked in that segment. I'll say that, man. Like, I referenced it in my SmackDown recap that Raw after that was the highlight of Raw, and it's really odd when you're putting a show together to make the first segment the best segment, especially when said show is 3 hours long.
Justin is weeping a little bit right now if you're not going to acknowledge Finn Balor's return as being a highlight of Raw.
Oh, no, that was good, but that Roman Reigns moment was terrific, and kind of like what Kyle's saying, that was the best moment of the night. Although I totally get why they started it off, because they did the Undertaker package and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense, that video, and we all kind of thought it would be. We'll talk about the Balor thing in a moment. I thought they actually... I'm interested to see where they go with it, because I was one of the people who actually was apparently worked into thinking they should have done something completely else, different. But yeah, it was unbelievable, man, for that to go on. But yeah, I'm with you. The crowd did enhance that segment compared to a lot of the other segments where I thought they took away.
You had like a damn near 5 to 8 minute thank you Taker chant that slowly began a Roman sucks, and then boom, his music comes out, and you get 10 minutes of just people shitting on him. All he points at his palm,
Yeah, I did not catch that live. That was incredible. While he mouthed, "I've got you right there."
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second.
Oh boy.
Because he hasn't been built up to be the guy everyone hates. The company wants him to be the face of the company,
But
the
the
baby
dynamic
face.
worked.
So, like, to play devil's advocate, you could make the argument he isn't the right guy because this isn't the reaction they actually want for him, and it's not the one they've tried to get for him.
All right. In the classic wrestling sense, you're absolutely correct. But John Cena has provided the blueprint for this.
Yeah, Roman Reigns isn't John Cena.
You know what? His merchandise is getting on track as far as regulars go. His merchandise is #1 now, and he's getting pretty close.
That is such a who reported that? Meltzer?
Yeah.
That is such a BS stat because look at all the guys that are on top of the company right now. Sorry, Dave, I'm putting you on blast. That's a bullshit stat because John Cena, not considered a regular. Brock Lesnar, not considered a regular. Bill Goldberg, not considered a regular. Like to say, oh, he's #1 of the regulars. What's that mean? 4th or 5th place?
Well, I mean,
That's
one of the
bogus.
regulars.
That's bogus. Come
Oh,
on.
yeah.
But no, I think
here's the problem.
he needs to go. I know he already is kind of a heel, but this shows you how if he went full heel, how awesome he could be.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem. I think you'd lose the dynamic of the protest. Like so much of it, what makes him work, it's like Cena. It's that it's a new world we're in pro wrestling. You know, where a guy can be the #1 baby face to part of the audience, and he's like the #1 heel to another part of the audience simultaneously. It's really hard in 2017 to get anything to have like anything, like not forget about wrestling, just like life, for anything to be universally liked. Like
Daniel Bryan did it pretty damn recently.
I was gonna say he was the closest, but you know there was the problem that they didn't see him in that role, which was unfortunate. I mean, it's wrong that they were wrong. Daniel Bryan should have been given a bigger push. But other than Daniel Bryan, I mean, post Austin Rock, there has not been a top universally loved babyface, in my opinion.
Other than Daniel Bryan?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you know, John Cena, though, he originally got himself over organically and was very popular before the mixed stuff happened. And that, like I've always gone back to, Reigns has never had that.
You know, he was like, so if you go back and watch, the problem with Roman Reigns, it's interesting you bring up Daniel Bryan, where it all went wrong with Roman Reigns, because remember, people, what a difference a year makes. Royal Rumble 14, people wanted him to win, even though it would have made no sense. People wanted him to win that match, the one that Dave Bautista won. But where it all went wrong was later that year when Daniel Bryan came back and they had the great freaking story handed to him on a silver platter with Bryan coming back to challenge Brock Lesnar, and they didn't, and people liked Daniel Bryan more than they liked Roman Reigns. And it wasn't like one of those things where fans just like illogically want something that makes no sense. Like in that case, the story was right fucking there for WWE to tell, and they didn't do it. And they told a worse story. So that is when Roman Reigns went wrong. Like I thought he was fine, like early post Shield, like when he was working Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Like I remember watching that, being like, okay, I can see what they see in him.
Yeah, they also went wrong when they started scripting his promos, and
wasn't like that era to the suffering succotash, that atrocity.
Yeah.
Something that bothers me is, and I think it's a complaint that a lot of people have, is they don't like him because they think WWE is trying to build him as some super baby face. But I think somewhere in this past year they pivoted, because like I said last week, he is a heel to the smarts and a face to the marks. I mean, look at what they did with him at Royal Rumble, having him come out at 30. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
all they're trying to do is get a reaction.
Yes,
he's not drawing business, though, is the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. There were a lot of people.
Look at their television ratings. They are god awful during the Reigns push era. They've just consistently been going down.
Yeah, that's not all on Reigns, though. And just like all the success can't be pinned on him. I mean, you can't criticize WWE business right now. I mean, I was just
tons to criticize about WWE business.
I was just in a stadium that had a lot of people. They did 50,000 plus in January for the Rumble. I mean,
That's the brand more than the booking, though.
it is. Well, exactly. So
they have a hard time selling out the non-Big Four pay-per-views.
Yeah, I think they do. But
markets.
I mean, overall, I think WWE business is okay. I mean, I don't think you can really give too much credit or too much blame to any individual performer because you're right. It's the brand right now more than anything.
All right. Well, we can go round and round in circles on this.
I believe the Superdome. I think they're going to have to build additions to the Superdome next year based on Roman Reigns, how many people he's going to bring in.
Guys, can we talk about the Revival kicking over Luda's ice cream truck?
Oh man, I got plenty more to say on this subject, but yeah, go ahead. I'll let you take it away.
I just thought that was a perfect welcoming of the Revival, coming down and kicking that thing over and stomping on it. That's this is the Revival.
It was cool. That was cool actually because like the crowd was expecting it when they called it out. You know, I'd heard word a couple days before around town that the Revival was Raw bound, and you know, of course, the crowd, they get what they want. They popped big for the debut. They kind of sat on their hands during the match itself. Not that the match was raw and bad or anything, but you know, it certainly seems Longview Hardy's Revival will be the focal point of the Raw tag team division, I think. And hopefully we can lock Vince in a closet and have a nice Southern wrestling match.
Did you get your Southern Pro Wrestling? What is it, Southpaw Pro Wrestling? You get the T-shirt. Were they selling those at Mania?
Yes, they were. There were quite a few. There were a lot of Enzo. I'll tell you who. There a ton of merchandise. Enzo and Cass.
That's so surprising because most of their merchandise is hideous. They have like some of the ugly shit.
I wouldn't have worn any of it, but I mean, there were a lot of people that were. A lot of soft T-shirts.
All right. Well, hey guys, I think we got to wrap this up because we've been going.
What about SmackDown? What about Shinsuke Nakamura? What about the week?
Well, he didn't do much. I mean, it was a great moment. He came out. I guess he's going to be feuding with Miz.
What a great feud that's going to be.
It will be. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, big debut there. SmackDown was pretty good. I don't know though. There's portions of SmackDown I didn't see, but at first glance, I almost enjoyed Raw better for the first time in a while.
I'll see Raw. I going up to Mania, I was enjoying Raw more. I thought SmackDown was a better show this week.
I think Raw had two really good bookends on it. I thought the Balor return and then the Reigns thing at the beginning were both really good. But yeah, I told people that don't usually watch Raw after the show that it was a great show and that they should watch the replay. I don't say that very often.
I thought, other than the two bookends, nothing. I mean, the Hardys worked, but I thought
the cruiserweight match was good.
I thought it was too long, though.
Yeah,
I thought they needed to do more character development than just wrestling, and I could have said the same for the Revival too. And you know, maybe I'm on an island here. I thought Balor should have turned on Rollins, and they should have formed the New Evolution. I don't know where. I
was waiting to see if something would like. I'm glad they did explain. Like on commentary, to their credit, they didn't ignore the fact.
They did.
Yeah, they did. They talked about how how the team was a little awkward because of the injury. Good. They didn't ignore that. I was worried they would ignore it because that was like a glaring weakness there.
Oh yeah, good. Okay, because obviously being there live, I didn't know, and I was like, God, man, I hope they're acknowledging that.
Yeah, they did. So that was good.
What do we think about the superstar shakeup, though? Like, what do we? What are the big changes?
So they had rumored Reigns was going to go to SmackDown, but I don't think there's any way it's going to happen now.
Yeah, they might keep it. It'd be a way to keep him and Lesnar separate then for the year.
Yeah. God, Brock might not be around until like late May from the looks of it.
Yeah, but and they'll just have to establish a new contender on Raw. I think if you're looking for just some obvious ones, Charlotte and Alexa Bliss should be swapped. I think Enzo and Cass need to go to SmackDown, because I think it's redundant to have them and New Day on the same show because they both kind of serve the same function. But other than that, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, because there's rumors of a Reigns AJ swap. So
yeah, I don't know. I'd be shocked if Reigns switched at this point. It seems like AJ is going to switch, but I guess we won't be getting AJ Nakamura then.
Yeah, I think that's still long view. I mean, again, I wrote in the review. They should not rush that match. Build it up, make the people want it, man. And by the people, I mean like the audience at large. I mean, there's some people, people who've already seen it. There's no need to rush it just so they can see it again in a WWE ring. Make it mean something.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they did the Nakamura debut in Orlando because definitely with that crowd came off as a bigger deal.
Oh, yeah. He came off as a huge superstar.
Yeah. I think if they would have been having that show elsewhere, say, let's see where it was a bad audience recently, Green Bay, Wisconsin, possibly. Maybe Nakamura doesn't get the same kind of reaction coming out. Pittsburgh, yeah. So, I don't know. I thought it was a good week of TV. I thought it was really great, 6 days or so to be a pro wrestling fan, going back to last Thursday when the indie show started. So, I know I still have a lot to watch on my queue on Flow Slam. So I think Evolve 81 is next on my list.
You know what else you should watch?
What?
More Roman Reigns.
I watch plenty of Roman Reigns. I'm not even saying I don't like Roman Reigns, Kyle. I'm just providing the counter argument.
So we were doing that incessantly on the plane ride down. Like every time there was it was silent on the plane, me and my 3 buddies, we were doing the Reigns song, and I swear to God, my buddy grabbed the mic from the flight attendant when we landed and said, "Welcome to the big dog's yard."
Honest to God, I would say I like him more than I dislike him at this point. I'm just looking at this as far as why people have problems with him, and I can empathize with a lot of that. But I think he can definitely be a success moving forward. I just understand the frustration on why he is where he is.
Go ahead, Justin.
I got a quick question for Kyle since he was there. What was the crowd chanting during that Sheamus and Cesaro?
They were just chanting their names. We're like, "Oh, Sheamus and Cesaro." To be honest with you, part of that I was pulling off some of my usual shady dealings, and I was, quite frankly, smuggling some of my buddies into a better section. So I was not being fully attentive during that match. Unfortunately, I was trying, but a couple seats had opened up next to me and my one buddy, and I was like, "Hey guys, come down here, and I'll give you my tickets, and we'll all walk down." So.
Well, I think we need to set the goal that all 3 of us will be at the Superdome next year.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do a live cast from the hotel pool where Kyle will be running around in a drunken rant.
All of us will be on Bourbon Street. I'll tell you what, baby. I haven't been to New Orleans since the 4 Seasons and the French Quarter threw us out.
Since Clash of the Champions in '89, brother.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Me and Kyle will have our Roman Reigns gear on, helping move that merch.
Oh yeah, I should have bought it.
They don't even make adult Roman Reigns t-shirts, Justin.
Dun dun dun. Such a good pro wrestler.
I started out that whole conversation saying I'm going to play devil's advocate. Now you guys think I'm just like one of the.
Now we just think you're the devil. We just think
you think I'm like one of the marks, but no, legitimately everything I said was I was just bringing out the facts, ticket sales, TV rating. I don't see the correlation with John Cena.
I've never seen this company hotter in my career.
That's what Vince keeps telling himself.
God, he looks old. When he came out on Raw, cheesy. There was some of the old Vince with, "You people are being cruel." Like, that was kind of funny, the thing with Stephanie. But God, Vince. When I went back and watched that on TV, too, that segment, when he introduced Angle, Vince, man, he's looking old.
Something about his eyebrows look really weird. Last couple of years. I don't know if he had a facelift or he has someone doing his eyebrows weird or something. He looks, I don't know what's going on there.
Tell you what, man, they're not letting you in Titan Towers with the way you're talking about the main appearance.
Don't bash Steph. By the way, come on. I just said she shouldn't dress in those outfits. Nothing about her person. Bashing Roman Reigns, man, can't do that. And now Vince's eyebrows, my God.
They were my 3 highlights of the weekend, those things that you just said.
All right, we're gonna sign off for the night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week for another edition of Top Rope Nation. Check us out on Twitter at TR Nation Podcast, and subscribe on iTunes. Leave a rating. Watch for Justin's live tweets during the shows.
Yow!